Hello and welcome to the NBA Outlet presented by OTGBasketball.com. I'm your host, Nick Fay. With me, as always, Kory Waldron. What's up, Kory?
Nothing much, Nick. Nice to be back on a Wednesday.
Yes, sir. Back on a Wednesday. You know, obviously the NBA is fully in sync. We got more than 2 games under our belts right now, so we can make some more hot takes about the league today. But before we get started, as always,
don't spit on me, okay?
Don't
spit on me.
I will not. I'm not going to go Rondo on you or anything. Please don't poke me in the eye, though. iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, OTGBasketball.com, Google Play, Dash Radio, and YouTube. Also, be sure to check out OTGBasketball.com for NBA content. Our writers have been killing it. Over 20 new articles this week, and it's Wednesday. So these guys have really been churning out a lot of stuff. Be sure to check it out. Anything from, takes on the Heat, the Jazz, the daily fantasy, to NBA history. Be sure to look at it. Also, a lot of great podcasts. But Kory, we're going to probably do a little bit of overreacting today. We're going to start off with a little bit of fun. Fact or fiction. I'm going to give you a couple statements. You're going to tell me fact or fiction. First off, Devin Booker will be a top 5 shooting guard by the end of the season.
Fact. I'll say fact. I wasn't even prepared for his 30-point outburst the first game of the year. I like that team, actually. They're pretty well built. As long as he stays healthy, I think he could be a top 5 shooting guard for sure.
Yeah, I like it fact too. I think for the fact that Devin Booker is going to have a lot of responsibility. You've seen him playing a little bit of point guard almost too. Currently averaging a little bit under 30 points, over 6 assists, three rebounds. Obviously, it's only been 3 games in, but really impressive start from Devin Booker. Igor Koskov has done a great job kind of getting him the most out of Devin Booker. Next one up is hits close to me. Caris LeVert will be the Nets' best player by the end of the season if he isn't already.
Fact. No doubt fact. Bill Simmons, where you at? I'm still waiting. You've not spoken Caris LeVert yet. I'm waiting. Come out and face me.
Come out and face Kory one-on-one full access hoops. We'll set it up.
He's been tremendous. He's a lot of fun to watch. He just looks poised on both ends of the floor. He left Victor Oladipo in their recent games, putting up the numbers. He's a lot of fun. He's a really complete player right now.
Yeah, obviously, going to the season, I thought it would be D'Angelo. Pleasantly surprised, Caris LeVert, somebody I've been high on for a long time, my favorite player in the Nets, averaging 24, 4 and 4 on 65% from the field, 40% from 3, 7 free throw attempts a game. And like you said, Kory, he's playing both sides of the ball. Not only is he an offensive player, he's a defensive player. Mentally, he's really taken a step, and physically, strength and balance-wise, really impressive start from Caris LeVert. Hopefully, he can keep it up all season long. Blake Griffin will be an all-star this season.
Fact. I think, especially in the Eastern Conference, obviously LeBron left, so that's one more player gone from the All-Star team. And, I mean, hell, he put up 50 points last night. If he continues to play like that, and he put up 15, 14, and 6, I believe. That kind of Blake Griffin, it's really hard to stop him when he's got it going like that. He's shooting 61% from 3, I think, also this year. He's been the complete package. So, yeah, I think if he's healthy, he's an all-star.
Yeah, I agree. Fact for me as well. Like you said, Blake was super impressive. That was probably the best game of his career last night. He's scoring from all over the floor, 3-pointers, getting inside, and ones. Also like the fact that he's averaging over 11 rebounds, 5 assists. And I think Dwayne Casey's really done a good job of kind of unlocking him, getting the best out of Blake. Now, Nikola Jokic is going to be a top 3 center by the end of the season.
I'm gonna have to say. Wait a minute. I gotta think about the other centers first, because Gobert, no. Oh man. Gobert, no. Embiid, no. Is he battling for third with Towns and Horford? Cousins. Oh, man, this is a tough one. I'm going to say fiction. I'm going to say I need more. I see more. Although he's been tremendous, I'm going to say fiction.
I'm going to go fact here. And I think Nikola Jokic is, like you said, he's definitely going to be in the conversation with the other guys. I think one thing that separates him, and this is something I value a lot in players, is he makes his teammates better. The fact he can pass the ball, he keeps the defense honest all across the floor. And then also the fact defensively, he's not amazing, but I believe Denver obviously early in the season, but his top 3 in defensive rating. I really like what we'll see from Jokic. I think he's averaging almost close to a triple-double. If he can average like 20, 10, and 8, that will be incredible numbers. And I think that almost guarantees him a top 3 spot. Like you said, obviously still a lot to prove, but so far Jokic has been one of the most impressive players to start the season.
Yeah, actually, I heard a soundbite last night watching the Nuggets game, and someone asked him about his defensive, how he's been playing the defensive end. And he said he thinks he could be a defensive player of the year, and someone laughed. And He's kind of like a quirky guy. And he was like, "Why are you laughing?" He was like, "I'm serious. Why are you laughing?" And it was really funny. Yeah, I'll try and find that and send it to you. But that was a cool moment. Yeah, he's been playing really well on both sides of the floor. And I think, as you mentioned, if he's averaging almost a triple double at the center position, he's got to be in that conversation. And he's tremendous for their success. They've run their offense through a center, which you don't see a lot nowadays.
Yeah, and his shooting numbers are great. Obviously, still early in the season, but like I said, I really love the fact that he's making guys better. Gary Harris, Jamal Murray, like those type of guys are benefiting from him. Another one, Anthony Davis will be the best player in the West this season. Now, it doesn't mean that he's more talented than anybody else. He's not better than LeBron, but he'll have a better regular season than anybody else in the Western Conference.
Oh man, that's so tough. I'm gonna say fiction, because I think at some point this year LeBron's gonna go full LeBron takeover mode, because this Lakers team is going to need him to be the alpha male. So I'm not gonna say, I'm gonna say no.
I'm gonna go fact again. One thing I've really loved from Anthony Davis this year, defensively, he's been such a monster. And as good as LeBron will be offensively, we know he'll have to take plays off defensively to kind of contribute for that Lakers team. Like you said, is struggling right now. I just really see Anthony Davis being super locked in. The Pelicans ask him to do a lot as well. And yesterday, he didn't even have a great shooting night, but you could see his impact all over the floor, setting the picks, rolling to the rim. The team has to react defensively. Like I said, ton of blocks, switching out on players. I love AD, and I think, like we've mentioned on the previous NBA outlet, he'll be a guy that'll be in the MVP conversation all year long. Back to the Eastern Conference, Jason Tatum will be the Celtics' best player by the end of the season.
I'm going to say fiction. I think he's still a year or two away. I love Jason Tatum. I think he's fantastic. But, he hasn't really played all that well since the first game. His efficiency has gone down. I just don't think he's fully ready yet. I think he is really good, but no.
Yeah, I'm
fiction.
going to go fiction here too as well. I think obviously when Kyrie gets healthy, he's still that elite closer. That's hard to find in the NBA. Not many players can get buckets like Kyrie. And I even think there's still an argument for Al Horford for his overall impact, doing the little things, offensively and defensively. Now, DeMar DeRozan will have his best season ever in San Antonio.
Fact. I'm 100% on board with this. I was really high on him going to the San Antonio Spurs in the offseason. Popovich gets the most out of his guys. I wasn't really concerned about him fitting in. I wasn't expecting the assist numbers for him to be playing as well as he's played. I'm actually really excited to see him go against the Indiana Pacers later tonight. But I think this is going to be DeRozan's best season.
Yeah, fact over here, same line of thinking. I think Pop gets the best set of guys. And like you said, from that playmaking perspective, getting the assist up, obviously they've had the injuries to DeJounte Murray. Now he's needed to step up as almost as a point guard, having those high assist numbers. I really like what we've seen from DeRozan. I think he's due for a huge year. You got anything for me, Kory?
I do not, but I have some good ones later for a different category.
All right, moving on to rookies. Which rookies have really impressed you? We can go one by one. Who you got?
I mean, Luka Doncic has looked good. He looked really poised out there. I'm excited to see how that team looks as they get farther on in the season. But I think Luka Doncic has exceeded my expectations to start the year. I didn't expect him to look this athletic out there. Or not even athletic, just like a slow-mo, sneaky athletic. Like he just seems to make the right moves even though he's moving in slow motion, kind of like Brook Lopez.
Change of pace.
That kind of style.
Yeah, I like what I've seen from Luka as well, and I think he'll get even better as the season progresses, getting a better feel for his teammates and some of the other players around the league, because he plays definitely a mental game. And a guy that I know you weren't very high on to impress me has been Trae Young. Obviously, dropping 35 against the Cavs, averaging 23 points a game, 8 assists, 45 from the field, 39 from three. I think Trae's really impressed not only as a scorer, but as a playmaker. Averaging those 8 assists is impressive.
Yeah, this has already been a take that has aged very, very poorly. Obviously, it's still early in the season, but he's looked really good. He's shooting it efficiently. His size doesn't seem to be an issue. He's been really good. So I for right now, I look like a complete moron. Obviously, there's still a lot of season left, but he has definitely impressed. And I'm not going to be saying anything sour about Trae Young until probably for at least a couple months.
We're still early enough that you can change your take on him, so keep that in mind. Jaren Jackson's another guy I thought's been pretty impressive. Jermichael Green, I think, broke his jaw, is going to be out a couple weeks. Jackson stepping in, getting 15 points per game, 6 rebounds. Like we've said, still obviously a small sample size, but I've liked what I've seen from Jaren Jackson. Yeah,
Jaren Jackson. I got to be honest, too, DeAndre Ayton. I've been moderately impressed through 3 games. He's averaging 14 and 10 and 4. The assist numbers are something that stand out to me, and he just looks like he can really be that, that duo alongside Devin Booker.
Yeah, he seems further along than I anticipated going to the season. I thought he might struggle early on adapting to the NBA, but he looks like he's going to be a great fit. And like you said, that combo with Booker moving forwards, going to be a great shooting guard or whatever you want to call it, guard and big man combo. Marvin Bagley, I don't know. I watched him last night. I didn't watch the Kings' other two games, but he was pretty impressive. I think he had 5 blocks. It looked like he had the ability to really score the ball. A guy that I necessarily wasn't super high on, especially being in Sacramento. He looks like he's going to push for more minutes too.
Yeah, I mean, I watched some of that game last night too. He's definitely athletic. He's definitely can get to the rim. Obviously, he can't really shoot the ball, but I like the energy he plays with and his ability to get the ball up and down the floor.
And you can see the confidence too, which I always think is important, especially for young players. Miles Bridges on Charlotte, he just looks like he's got an NBA ready body. We've seen a couple big dunks, not only in preseason but in the regular season as well. I like the pick by the Hornets.
Yeah, he's looked extremely good as well. The dunks are the highlight. Obviously, we see him almost. It feels like every night the Hornets play. Bridges has one dunk that ends up on the OTG highlight reel. So yeah, he's definitely impressed as well. Another guy who I think stands out too a little bit is Alexander from the Clippers. He has some nice dribble moves.
Yeah, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I watched a little bit of him yesterday. He feels like almost like he's been playing the league already for a year. You see some moves that he makes and you feel like, oh, wow, like this rookie's already out here, like showing some stuff. I definitely think he'll be a guy as the season progresses that's going to get more minutes for the Clippers.
I agree.
Second rounder for my team, Brooklyn, Rodion Kurucs. He's been a guy I think going to season, myself included, didn't expect a ton from him. I thought he was going to spend time in the G League. He's already getting rotation minutes. Some of that's due to injury. Great energy. Looks like he has the potential to have a great all-around game. Just needs some polish. Very impressed.
Yeah, I haven't got to watch enough of him by the Nets guys I follow. Everybody's pretty much ranting about him and raving.
Yeah, it's definitely something that's been a surprise, especially from a second-round pick to be getting minutes like this early. Already had some nice moments and a lot of confidence. And the Nets really benefited because last year Barcelona found out he wanted to be in the NBA and they didn't give him big minutes. He's already played more minutes with the Nets this year than he did with Barcelona last year. So it's really worked out well for him. Any rookies stick out for you, Kory?
Can I say a rookie that stands out to me in a bad way?
Sure.
Colin Sexton through 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
He's averaging 9 points, 2 assists. He has not looked good. I watched who was their last game against? I just watched their last game against Atlanta. Yeah. And Trae Young obviously owned him, but I don't know. Sexton just looks a lot farther behind than I thought he did. I think Summer League kind of construed in my view. Some guys, Summer League did them justice. Some of them didn't do him enough justice. He just doesn't look ready.
Yeah, the Cavs play the Nets tonight, so I don't want to talk too bad, but I think the Cavs overall have been really out of sync, and obviously for a rookie being in a situation like that, it's not always great. But any other guys that have stuck out in a negative, positive way?
No, I think that's it.
Moving on from there, well, I know you touched on this a little bit on Flex's Hoops. Yeah, Kory's pod, make sure to check that out. iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, OTGBasketball.com, and YouTube. Excessive off-ball fouls. We've seen a lot of them. The NBA wants freedom of movement. What are your thoughts on it so far? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Obviously, the scoring has been way up because of it.
I mean, I'm a person who, I believe in defense wins championships. And the NBA is currently at a stage where I don't even think you can play defense to a certain degree. I mean, obviously, we're seeing teams score 140 points. The pace is incredible because you can't touch anybody. LeBron was complaining about the other night. Luke Walton complained about the other night. You must just put your hands on somebody and it's a foul. It slows down the game. It slows down the game slightly, but it just makes it so nobody wants to play defense. And it's kind of like the NFL to the standpoint where you just can't play defense, and we're getting these guys just scoring ridiculous amounts of points. I know for gamblers, it must be a headache because whatever the line is, you can't predict what it's going to be at this point because of how fast these guys are scoring. I'm not a giant fan of it because I don't like seeing 130-point games all the time. It's just, I don't know. I'm a guy who enjoys defense.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something interesting to think about. I think if you look at it from multiple perspectives, one, the NBA really wants this freedom of movement, so I think it is smart to call the fouls very strict in the beginning of the season if that's the way you want them to play moving forward, because it kind of sets the tone for the year. But I do think it's making it incredibly difficult to play defense. I think moving forward, you're going to see a lot more teams going to switching because, players going around picks, usually you can get a little tug in there, put your hand around their hip or something to slow them down. Right now, you can't do that. So it feels like a lot of teams are going to go to switching, like we've seen from Golden State, Houston in the past. I think that's where the way defense is going to go, especially the NBA is going to continue to call this. In some ways, I understand it from the league perspective is, they don't really care about defense. Offense sells, highlights sell. People care if Steph's dropping 40 a game or, these big nights, 149 points is exciting. So I think from a marketing perspective, I understand it. I know some people really love defense like yourself, maybe aren't that high in it. But I will say if that's what they want, it's smart to do it very strict to begin the season.
If that's the idea, then I agree with you. It does make the most sense. Something a little fun to note is that like the 6 most explosive offenses in the NBA all come from the Western Conference too so far. A lot of these big point teams are in the West. The Lakers, the Kings. Nope, that's not right. That's the most points given up. Sorry, misspoke slightly.
But the Kings, I believe, are playing the highest pace in the league. I know the Pelicans have played super high. I remember watching their game last night, and they're playing at such a high pace the entire game that you almost don't feel how fast they're playing.
The Pelicans are averaging 132 points per game. I think that's a lot.
Yeah, that definitely is putting up some points. Obviously, last Saturday after we recorded the last NBA outlet, there was that brawl between CP3 and Rondo and Brandon Ingram getting in there. Obviously, Chris Paul, 2-game suspension. Rondo, 3-game suspension. Brandon Ingram, 4-game suspension. What were your thoughts on the suspensions? I know personally I thought that was very low and I expected more.
Well, let me say first that this was actually a brawl. Sometimes people in the NBA Twitter will say it's a brawl and it's just 2 guys pushing. This was actually a brawl. There were people being punched. And when it comes to suspensions, I was surprised. Ingram had only 4 games when he came out of nowhere and threw that pretty much a haymaker. Rondo spitting and throwing punches, only getting 3, and then Chris Paul getting 2. I think it should have been more so, like Ingram gets, let's say, 8. Rondo gets 6, and then Chris Paul gets 3. I just think the 2 guys from the Lakers standpoint should have gotten more because they kind of they antagonized Chris Paul. Right. Yeah, they instigated to the point where it's at. Because if you're Chris Paul, what are you going to do if someone spits in your face and if someone,
especially someone you don't like.
Right. And then Ingram goes over and punches you. Why are you the one getting only 1 less game or 2 less games than these 2 guys when really you're just in self-defense mode? You're basically being attacked. And obviously he put his hand on Rondo's face, but as I said on Full Access Hoops, you put your spit on me, I'm probably slapping the shit out of you. Like, I'm not poking you in the face. Like, I'm slapping the shit out of you. Like, I just can't believe that we really in 2018 had somebody spit on somebody, on national television in a live game. It was incredibly disrespectful of Rondo.
Yeah, I'm pretty similar to you in the suspension. I thought we saw at least 7 games from Brandon Ingram because, like you said, not only did he throw the sucker punch, that's a cheap shot. I don't like that. I get the fact that he's saying he's trying to step up for his teammates, but honestly, bro, get in there, push somebody. Throwing a cheap shot like that is just not a clean play, and it kind of hurts your rep around the league, and especially if you connect it with PJ Tucker, not somebody you want to punch in the face. Let's be honest here, Brandon Ingram, you're not a very big guy. And then Rondo spitting on Chris Paul's face and then lying and saying that you didn't do it when you can obviously see the suck motion on his face when you're about to spit. Like, dude, this is 2018. There's like 15 different camera angles. Eventually somebody was going to get that. And like you said, Chris Paul getting 2 games, like I think maybe 3 games for him and 5 for Rondo and 7 for Ingram would have made more sense, even more. Like, I wouldn't have been upset if the NBA really wanted to set the tone because they haven't had an issue like this in a long time. If they wanted to give Chris Paul 5 or 6, they wanted to give Rondo 8, and they wanted to give Brandon Ingram 15, I wouldn't be upset about it because you don't want this on the court. It's not a good look for the NBA, especially some of the actions, like we said, taken from Rondo spitting, not cool. Brandon Ingram throwing cheap shots, not cool. Chris Paul, somewhat, you're the head of the Players Association. You don't really want to get into that, but obviously if someone spits in your face, it's going to be all bets are off.
Yeah, and not only just that, I think Chris Paul also lost the most money from these suspensions.
Yeah, substantially. He lost more than both of them combined.
Yeah, he lost over 600,000, I believe, while the other 2 lost. I think 300,000 was the most Ingram lost, and I think it was only like 197,000 from Rondo. Obviously, they make a good amount of salary, but even still, that doesn't seem right to me either. That Chris Paul also loses the most money on this deal.
Yeah, it just wasn't really a good look for the Lakers, and obviously, I'd be interested to hear what LeBron really has to say about it behind closed doors because obviously Chris Paul being a good friend of his, Rondo being a new teammate, Ingram being a new teammate, it's definitely an interesting criteria. Now, Rondo and Chris Paul have had drama in the past. Are you surprised this is the first time they kind of brawled out, or is something you expected eventually happen? Because obviously, I think Rondo in the past after he won a championship was like Chris Paul's always going to be jealous because he'll never win a chip and things along those lines. We saw in the game there was a couple plays where Chris Paul kind of overpowered Rondo when he was trying to draw a foul, and they gave each other looks.
I mean, I'm going to say I'm surprised. I never think that what we see on and off the court, even though they can have this dislike for each other, will ever escalate to the point of hands being thrown. So I'm going to say I was definitely surprised, especially just like you mentioned too. Chris Paul is the head of the Players Association. It's not like his initial reaction was to have to throw hands. So yeah, I was surprised.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't have been a surprise if we saw a little scuffle, pushing and whatnot.
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah.
anytime we see the fists, not something we're accustomed to seeing in an NBA game on the court. Obviously there's that whole drama with the Rockets and the Clippers last year, but that's for another day. Now, also there was a report that Rajon Rondo's girlfriend confronted Chris Paul's wife. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, uncalled for. I
Yeah, it's
mean,
weird.
I mean, leave the families and everyone else, off it. It's between the two guys on the court, the two players. I never understand. I don't like the social life aspect of that and getting involved. Keep that to yourself. Don't go out of your way to make further altercations. To me, I don't like that at all.
As adults, in both of them, I'm going to assume, or at least probably either late 20s, early 30s, or whatnot, you should know better not to really get into stuff like that because obviously I'm sure there's children around. That's something the NBA wants associated with them. Also, Rondo came out and said, Chris Paul's not the good guy that everyone makes him out to be. He's, quote unquote, an asshole, a bad teammate. What are your thoughts on Chris Paul? Obviously, there's been other players in the pack. I think Big Baby Davis and some other guys have said, Chris Paul's not the best teammates. What do you think about CP3?
I love how this is like an onion, and there's a layer after layer when it comes to this. And we're 3 days after the brawl, and we still have all this content to talk about.
And there keeps getting more and more, it feels like.
Yeah, it does. So when it comes to Chris Paul as a bad teammate, I can definitely see it. I mean, he kind of has that vibe. I mean, for example, when Steve Kerr said something to him last year, and he laughs and then turns away and goes serious face. I feel like that's how Chris Paul is as a teammate too. Like. He gets very frustrated at his guys, especially when they're losing. So I can definitely see him being a tough teammate. But at the same time, I mean, you're a competitor. And I think what it really comes down to is he wants to win and he wants to be successful. And at times that can kind of rub guys the wrong way. I know Kobe wasn't always liked by his teammates. So I think those kind of guys, even though they may be tough teammates at times, those are still the guys you want on your team to try and win a championship.
Yeah, I feel pretty similar about that. He might be an asshole sometimes. He might be a guy that kind of yells at you an unnecessary amount or something like that. But at the end of the day, if you're trying to win a game, I think you want CP3 on your team. We know Chris Paul wouldn't be on the Rockets if James Harden and him didn't have that connection. They wanted to play together, and Harden not being the most outspoken guy. And you see Chris Paul get after Harden sometimes, and sometimes I think guys need that. They don't necessarily always want it, but I think he does a good job of getting the best out of players and also helps them make money because he's a great passer.
Agreed. That's why I liked Kevin Durant and Draymond last year, and Draymond was yelling at Kevin Durant. It's nice to see somebody check, the star who may not always get checked.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, everybody can kind of need it in life sometimes. Somebody to check them, let them know what's up, and try to help them get the best out of you. If he's just yelling at you for no reason, not helping you win, yeah, then maybe he is a bad teammate. But if it's about winning and other things, and he's maybe being a little too aggressive, it's more understandable. What do you expect to see
Yeah, like
next time?
LeBron.
Yeah,
Like
go ahead.
LeBron, when someone has a miss on defense, LeBron, and he gets angry as if it wasn't his guy who got lost in the fold.
Yeah, and it happens too. You're in the heat of the moment. Emotions are high. What do you expect to see next time the Rockets and Lakers match up?
Well, also, wait a minute. Did you saw the Morey
Daryl
tweet
Morey?
today?
Yeah.
The pot calling the kettle black.
Yeah.
I like it's now an entire organization versus Rondo. But I think next time it'll probably be just as chippy.
Yeah.
Maybe not from Chris Paul's standpoint, but I think Rondo now is going to think he has that mental edge over Chris Paul, which he may or may not. But I think Rondo is going to be the one who's probably far more aggressive the next time, just to further prove a point.
Yeah, I expect the refs to be super tight in that game. Any type of fouls are going to be
Yeah.
called right off the top. So, and obviously, like you said, there's going to be some bad blood because I'm sure the Rockets, and like I said, did not take what Brandon Ingram did lightly. That is like, honestly, I know it might sound like corny or soft, but like he could have really hurt somebody coming in and throwing a cheap shot, broken somebody's jaw. They're out 4 weeks. Like, you just don't do that, man. Moving
No.
on from
But at the
moving.
same time, Brandon Ingram did show that he is the realest one on that team, and he's going to go to fight for all of his teammates. So, like, I think from a team standpoint, you like to see that to a degree, but obviously you don't like the action of, obviously throwing a fist.
I like it to a degree, but I think he would have been fine if he just went over there and pushed somebody. I think it's kind of stupid in a way
Right.
because
No, I agree.
if you punch somebody, you might be out for 15 games. Like he easily could have got a bigger suspension than that, and then you're really hurting your team. You're supposed to be a starter. You're supposed to be a breakout player that's having a big season, and you're getting overly emotional. And even the fact with he got so mad when James Harden getting the foul call and shoving him, like, yo, you got to control yourself. I know you're a young man and you're trying to be the best NBA player you can be, but bad calls are going to happen every single night in the NBA. It's a constant thing. The refs do the best they can. It's a fast game. There's always going to be bad calls. You got to relax. Obviously, I don't
Yeah,
play
I
in the
mean,
NBA,
even
but
yeah.
yeah.
But even before that, he got in the ref's face, and I'm
Yeah,
not a
well, I
big
think he
fan of
was
that
trying to
either. Like,
yell at
he just like
James
sized
Harden.
up the ref. Like,
Yell at James Harden that was behind the ref. I don't know. That was never really made clear if he was actually yelling at the ref or he was just trying to get to Harden who was behind the ref.
oh, okay. Yeah, I feel like that got glossed over, but that was something too that it just didn't look well. It didn't look good either because he was really aggressive, despite if he was to the ref or Harden, he was still overly. Like, it looked like he was ready to throw fists right there.
Yeah, you just gotta calm down and like obviously, we're not in the game. Obviously it's hard. I'm sure everybody's played pickup before and it's got a little bit, a little tense, but sometimes you just gotta be like, all right, it's what, second or third game of the season, gotta calm down. Bad calls are gonna happen every game. But Kory, I'm gonna pass it to you. Hit us with your segment.
It's time for the first hot take shot fake of the NBA outlet season. We're going to be team based on this edition of Hot Take Shot Fake. Nick, you ready?
Yes, I am.
Will the Clippers finish with a better record than the Los Angeles Lakers?
Shot fake. I mean, the Clippers definitely are going to be a competitive team and compete all season long. Obviously LeBron teams, like I've mentioned on the preview pod, I thought they'd get out to a slow start, and obviously that's the case. Also, I think the Lakers will be more likely to make a big splash move, where the Clippers might be willing to trade somebody off and get assets for the offseason.
The Denver Nuggets will finish with a top 4 seed in the West. Hot take or shot fake?
Hot take. I already predicted this on our prediction show, so I'm feeling pretty confident, especially with the way the Denver has played.
Yeah, they've looked good for sure. The Oklahoma City Thunder will be the odd team out in the Western Conference. Hot take or shot fake?
Oh, this one is actually tough. I'm going to go with shot fake.
This is a good one. I saw this last night on Twitter, and I was like, wow, I don't know.
I'm going to go shot fake. I think Westbrook's going to will them to win. Paul George is going to pick it up. Steven Adams, an underrated guy. I think they need some time to mesh these new pieces together. Maybe Billy Donovan can kind of get some better offensive schemes out there, or maybe they need to make a trade and add another role player to this team. I think if you have a player like Westbrook and Paul George, if you don't make the playoffs, that's a complete failure of a season.
I'll tell you what, Billy Donovan will not be the head coach next year if they don't make the playoffs.
For 100%. He won't make it through the whole season if they're playing that bad.
If they're playing like this, he won't make it to the new year.
Yeah, I mean, if they were to have a really bad start, and I think if we're looking at early December and they're 5 games under 500 or something, I wouldn't be surprised if there's rumblings about Donovan being out already.
Yeah, I think they have like the third worst offense in the league right now, or the fourth worst offense, something like that. And I know their offense is not good, and their defense hasn't been as good as we thought. So next up, the Pelicans will make the Western Conference Finals. Hot take or shot fake?
This is super tough. Seeding is like the biggest factor in who's going to make the Western Conference Finals.
And obviously the Pelicans are playing at such a high level right now, so everyone is all over the place.
Yeah, I really believe in the Pelicans, and they're looking like one of the best team in the West. But I have a hard time. I'm really high on Anthony Davis. I'm going to go with my first hot take of the year in terms of like really spicy. And I'm going to go, yes, I think we'll get to the Western Conference Finals. I don't know. Like Anthony Davis is just, I just am in love with him right now.
I like it. I think that's a good hot take. I think the guys over at the Birds Right Call, they're going to be cheering your praise.
Yeah, I mean, and also Nikola Mirotic contract year, it's been excellent. Julius Randle, that trio of bigs with Davis too is just really going to cause a lot of problems for different teams in the league. Also, Elfrid Payton, man, you're growing on me in New Orleans. You've played a lot better than I've seen you play in a long time.
Yeah, he's definitely impressed. Really confident, extremely
Yeah.
confident, and it goes to show. We talked about this actually on the previous series that maybe him playing around guys who are actually winning may have an impact on his effort and energy, and it surely has to start this year. He looks like a guy who actually, is confident in himself, and it shows with the guys he's playing around.
And keep an eye on the Pelicans for a team to make another splash trade. A couple years ago, they traded for DeMarcus Cousins. Last year, they got Nikola Mirotic. Obviously, there's constant chirping about Anthony Davis leaving New Orleans. I think sometimes it might be enticing for them to maybe throw in a first-round pick and pick up one of these role players or even maybe a fringe all-star type to bring to this team. Obviously, small forward. They could use a little bit more help, so keep an eye out for them on that too.
I can say it right now, just because I mentioned it last night and you just brought that up. I think Amon Shumpert could be an interesting guy for the Pelicans if they can make it work.
Get them cheap too. Kings aren't really going to ask for much. Expiring deal. They'll use any asset they can get.
For sure. All right, so now I got two more, Nick.
Okay.
The last one you'll enjoy. It's completely based solely on you. The Philadelphia 76ers will not have home court advantage in the Eastern Conference playoffs. Hot take or shot fake?
This is another good one, Kory. You've really come with some good questions to start the season.
It's overreaction week, man. It's overreaction week.
This one honestly depends on your team, the Pacers, because I feel pretty confident the Bucks are going to get a top 4 seed the way I've seen their offense work. Giannis honestly dominating. Brook Lopez has been pretty good for them. I think a low-key asset. It's tough. I'm going to go with a shot fake. I think they'll get the top 4 seed. I think they're going to make a trade. And I also think when they get Wilson Chandler back and Mike Muscala, I think it'll have an impact too.
Yeah, I think JJ Redick too will probably be back in the starting lineup at some point this year if he hasn't already.
I think I mentioned this to you before. I wouldn't be surprised if they're a team that tries to make a move for Kyle Korver. So now they have 2 elite shooters and a JJ and a Korver. So they can always have one of them on the floor.
Their perimeter shooters will be their biggest question mark.
Yeah, and obviously the last one. Young guys that can kind of get going too. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the rookies pick it up too.
Yeah, I know guy who Pete Toll was really high on at the previous series. I think he already started, right? Yesterday, did he get his first start?
Landry Schmidt. Yeah, he looked a little bit cold in the first couple of games I saw him, but yesterday he looked more confident.
Yeah, and I know Pete Toll was really high on him on the preview, so that's a guy who. And now, lastly, this is going to be the fun one, Nick, complete towards you. The Brooklyn Nets are going to be never mind, I can't say that. I can't word it that way. The Brooklyn Nets will be a better team than the New York Knicks all season. Fact or fiction? Or not fact or fiction. Hot take or shot take?
Ooh, this is a tough one because obviously if KP comes back, I think the Knicks might kind of be a little bit more talented than them, but the Nets should be in better sync at that time. So I'm going to go with hot take. I think obviously you're seeing them gel. There's a lot of guys in that team that are continuing to improve. And obviously we've already seen Karis LeVert take a jump. Jared Allen, I think second in the blocks right now. Rodion Kurucs is a guy that I just mentioned. And the Nets haven't even been healthy yet. DeMar Carroll hasn't come back yet. RHJ is going to play his first game tonight. Shabazz Napier, first game tonight. I think if they get 100% healthy, they should be more talented than the Knicks because they'll be deeper. But the Knicks, don't sleep on them because they've been very impressive playing super hard. Fizdale's already done a great job in a couple games.
For sure. And they're one of the few teams who, despite having a 1-3 record, they're scoring more points per game than they're giving up somehow.
That's thanks to the Hawks and that major blowout.
Oh, that's right. They had that huge blowout game. That's why the numbers are skewed. Just so you know, I worded that question, will the Nets be the face of New York by the end of the season? That's not the way to word that because there's too many stupid Knicks fans.
Yeah, I mean, and I got to say, the Knicks fans definitely are super supportive. The Nets are still trying to build up their brand in Brooklyn. But I got one for you, Kory. The Rockets will be knocked out in the second round. Hot take or shot fake?
That's one of those. Oh man, that's one of those who are they playing against? Because I think if they play the Bucks in that second round, yeah, I think that's so. I'm gonna say hot take. I'll agree with that because I think if they get matched up with like the Bucks in the second round, I think I take the Bucks.
Gotcha. Anything else, Kory? You good?
No, that's it for that.
All right, that wraps it up for Hot Take Shot Fake. Like we said before, make sure you check out OTGbasketball.com for a ton of great NBA content. The staff has really been putting out some great stuff. Also, you can find us iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, OTGbasketball.com, Google Play, Dash Radio, and YouTube.